Hi, everybody. This is Nalini Elkins, and we're going to go ahead and get started on our TLS roundtable today. Please, if you have problems hearing or anything, just go ahead and send us a message. The first person to talk will be our gracious host from U.S. Bank. Thank you so much for providing the venue and all the support of this endeavor that you've done. We'll have Vice President of Performance and Technology and co-founder of Enterprise Data Center Operators, Darrin Pettis.
Thanks, Nalini. Hello. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us here today. I know everybody says that, but I really appreciate it. I know this isn't always the most exciting to look at different technical topics, but we wanted to take a little time to dive into TLS 1.3 to make sure everybody fully understands it. It's really an enterprise-wide issue that affects so many people, but it's kind of obscure. And the truth be told, a little over a year ago, we didn't have a lot of information on how to get what they were doing with TLS 1.3, right? We were all worried about how we're going to get to 1.2. And then we started hearing more about it, and actually Nalini was kind enough to tell Steve Fenter here about it through a joint meeting with some of the mainframe folks, and heard about what was going on and raised a lot of concern. So we came back, and maybe I just talk a little bit about how we're going to get into it, I guess. But before I do that, I do want to thank the other sponsors that have been a part of this as well. Kevin's here from the CMG. He's going to speak a little bit soon. He's the president of CMG. Flew in today for this. Appreciate it. Thank you. Delaney and Bill from EDCO. Great to be in the room with you guys. And any other special guests that have joined here today from other vendors that support the effort. So thanks much on that. Just to give you a little background on this, you know, we were kind of motoring along and thinking everything was good with the world. We could see what's going on. We could see the packets. We knew what was happening. We were able to troubleshoot. We were able to provide security services. So we provide a lot of those tools through Matrix Switch Network. Everything was good. And then when we learned that 1.3 had removed the RSA encryption algorithm, that was very concerning to us because, well, how do we move forward? And we initially kind of took that as maybe that was an error. Maybe somebody didn't say anything. Maybe we could get it put back. So we're very wrong. But at that point, that's what our thoughts were. And we took a look at the schedule and who managed this. It was the IETF, and I kind of knew what the IETF stood for, and that was about it at the time. And Steve and I looked at the schedule and we realized, well, the next one's in Berlin. It's not in the US for a while. I said, we better go to Berlin and see what's going on because this has been happening for about 3+ years. So Steve went over there and quietly made some inquiries in the hall to see what's going on and how far along it is and could we put RSA back in. And we had a couple of international calls while he was there, and it became very clear quickly that RSA was gone, never to return. They had spent years moving past it. It wasn't an available option anymore, and it was beholden on us to come up with a new solution. And by the way, you know, one is that they felt kind of bad because we weren't there, and there's a big underrepresentation problem we'll get into a lot as well at the IETF. But we had to come up with a new technical solution of how to do it. And we weren't afraid to do that. You know, Steve's a CCIE, we had a lot of experience in the room, and then Twin Cities and whatnot. We figured we'd come up with a solution, and we kind of thought that was the main part of the problem. And we can dive into more of the whole litany of kind of where we've been, how we figured things out after we explain a little bit more what it's about. But that's kind of a teaser of the main issues. And I would also say that the IETF is a very interesting organization. It's not like anything that we're used to. You don't go to this conference and say, oh, I'm going to learn about this subject for an hour and sit down and it all becomes apparent to you, right? This is all done on an email chat list well before the conference. So at the conference, they kind of talk over the issues that they've been talking over on the phone. They do any, don't want to say voting because that's a bad word there. Rough consensus is their term. And it's okay, I'm going to call it voting, but when they vote, it's through a hum, which is people sitting in the room and humming, whether they like it or not. It sounds kind of weird right now. Okay, it sounds really weird. But it's effective, and it allows the moderators, the leaders of that working group to get a feel for what the people in the room think that they want to go in that direction. Mostly private, right? I mean, you may be able to tell what the guy next to you hummed, but you can't tell the whole room, so you don't really get a feel for who is on which side. But a lot of us get a feel. We already know kind of who is for or against us, the main players, right? But then, like in this case, we went from about, 90 people in Korea to maybe over 200 people, 250 people in Prague on the last vote. So that's how they vote. But you got to remember one thing: the vote is dependent on the people in the room. But the makeup of the people in the room is not enterprise. There's a lot of professors there. There's a lot of browser developers, I should say, that are in the room, and a lot of them are paid to be there. And they have a lot of interest in privacy, because Edward Snowden revealed a lot of information a number of years ago, which very much influenced this group, even to the point that they had him on a cable connection from Russia, sharing some of his views. The ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, is present, and he's a very eloquent speaker. He is really, when he gets up and talks, sounds pretty good. It makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of that has swayed the developers, because they just want to have it private from end to end. They want that encryption there. A lot of them don't even understand that it terminates maybe on F5 or something, and it gets re-terminated many times inside the enterprise. They just feel end to end is their buzzword. So there was some education of them to be a part of this, but when you get back to that makeup of the room, you realize, and we all thought that there was some magic person at the IETF saying, "I'm here representing enterprise, and I have your best interest at heart. Don't worry, sleep good tonight." They're not there. When we went to the next one in Korea, I'll go that far, and we realized that, in fact, there was no person there, and they are very careful to say whether you represent somebody or not. That's another issue. There's a lot of cautions there, because as you can imagine, as you hear more about this, it's a worldwide organization, and they want to be very particular. You're supposed to represent yourself, and there's no dues. Other organizations, you pay dues, you represent as an organization. It varies depending on the organization, but this is where TLS resides. And we've been to a number of meetings. Nalini's been there for a number of years, given us a lot of good information. But the thing I want you to take away from is there's two things that need to happen to make this change. One is you have to have a viable technical solution that they all agree on, or the rough consensus agrees on. That's one. We've been working on that. We think we're a good ways forward. As a matter of fact, we're going to push out today, totally coincidentally, but we're putting out on the mailing list today our opt-in TLS extension option. We'll go through all the technical parts of this, probably as much or more than you ever want to know about it, but you'll be informed. So once we get that out, all of us are technologists pretty much, right? And we think, by gosh, if it's technically sound, they should take it, it'll work, let's move forward. But what we realize is there's a second component here. The working group must approve of it. And until they approve of it, it's not going to go anywhere. And the thing that I realized, and Nalini told me a few times, is we're used to the speed of business. Things changing quick. Let's do it. Let's be done. Move on to the next thing. These are well thought out standards by experts in their field. Some of whom have created the internet, are very closely involved with it, and it takes time. And our first time out of the chute wasn't 100%. We thought we were close. We knew we didn't have everything. We thought maybe this is as good as it gets, and we got some better ideas. And we listened to them. But the main second thing I want you to take away, besides the technical solution, is how do we get them to pass the vote with a rough consensus? And we've been able to move the dial from maybe 10 out of 70 people saying yes, or maybe 4. Not too many in Korea in November. Sorry, we keep saying the locations. In November to in July, we were able to get over 100 people saying, okay, we don't approve. The vote was not on, should we take your solution? The vote was on, is there actually a visibility problem that should be addressed? Should the TLS working group spend time and effort figuring out the best way to address this visibility need. And I think the fact that you're here probably speaks to, yes, you feel that there is a need. Products depend on it, security services depend on it, troubleshooting, customer experience, a whole number of things depend on it. And really, when you look at different things like the Experian breach, people depend on us to keep their data safe. And they also don't want long downtimes. And we work in the milliseconds, which seems a little crazy sometimes. But when you think about all these round trip times adding up, pretty soon it's real seconds. And to tell you the truth, people 5-10 seconds, they're like, too slow. I need something faster, right? And to do that, we have to be able to troubleshoot. We have to see the packets. And we feel we own the packets once they hit the enterprise. There's enterprise use case policies, things like that that say, hey, this is our data. To fulfill these expectations and to provide a good service to our customers, we need to see the data to be able to work on it. But then you marry that up with a number of years ago, things start getting encrypted in the data center. Whether it's regulatory things that are driving it or best practices, whatever the reasons are, encryption is on the rise. I think Gartner puts it around 40% today and definitely increasing from there. So a lot of people don't realize that this is an issue because they're either just starting to encrypt and they can still decrypt with RSA and they haven't heard about this, or they don't even know that they're going to do encryption yet. They're smaller or getting bigger, or regulatory is just starting to talk to them about it. The best practices are pushing them towards it. And when they do, if we didn't do anything with 1.3, it's going to go dark the day that becomes required. That's nebulous. It can be argued. The last one took 8 years to get to 1.2. I would say between right away and 1 to 2 years, it's going to be in use. So I think we've already, well, it's not, other companies have tried it. I'm just going to single out Google because they're a little over the top and trying things out. They actually pushed it out early and had to pull it back as it broke things. So it's nearing the cusp. We talked to the working group director, the area director for security 2 weeks ago, and they're just finishing up the lab testing. There's some negative hits on it right now, things that it breaks a little bit too high to push it out. But once they get that accomplished, then they'll make it a standard and it'll be available for use. And a lot of these big developers already have it in their code. It's ready to roll. They want to start pushing it out. So along the way, that's why we've said that they seem to say, well, wait, stay on 1.2. Well, you can't, because regulatorily you're going to get pushed to it. Best practice, you're going to get pushed to it. 1.2, something breaks, they're going to fix it in 1.3. They've stated this in writing. But you get a variety of opinions. They just come from everywhere, and everybody has an idea. They might be an expert in one area, but they kind of act like an expert in everything. So you kind of got to read between the lines and see what you agree with and where we should go with things. But I know I've talked a lot here. I'm going to hand this off in a second, but I wanted to give you just kind of a quick overview of why we're here and what we wanted to talk about. Might be a little early to ask for questions, but it's a pretty technical topic. Does anybody have any questions before I hand it off to the next speaker? We'll probably work through things as we have time here.
Sure. We'll have. Thank you so much, Darrin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.